Hey, what's up, everybody? We got an awesome guest on here today. He's actually a fan of the Yoda that's in here. This is the Yoda. So this Yoda wants to be this Yoda right here.
Other way around.
So it's a Yoda life insurance sale. So Martin Yoda Jenkins, everybody, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit here,
Yeah,
Yoda?
man. Yeah, appreciate you having me, man. Yeah, been doing this. I've been in the life insurance game about 2.5 years now. Been loving it. I come from a sports background, so I played college football at Clemson. I squeaked into the NFL for about 6 months, and literally after that time, I had to call it quits due to some injuries. So, just kind of had that competitive spirit. After that, I was jumping around, and I'm like, I'm so used to just being competitive, loving what I do, but I'm in these sales and corporate jobs, and I don't have that feeling. So, what can give me that? I had a friend introduce me to life insurance, and then that's how I kind of got here. I saw the similarities, and I mean, I just never turned back. So, hey, now we're here, man.
Cool. So a lot of it's like just as competitive as you keep it competitive, I'm sure, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost the same as sports, except it's not when you make a mistake, there's not 100,000 people, watching you, right? It's just a couple people on Zoom.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
we are our biggest critics in this arena.
that's it. That's it. That's what it is, man. So I've been loving it ever since, man.
Well, dude, I mean, you can't get into the league without a crazy work ethic. Like, there's no lazy people who go through college ball and then into playing pro football. So, what skills did you take, and what traits did you take from that and apply them to insurance to help you be successful?
Yeah, man. It's so funny because I hear it so much, and it can almost become cliche, right? But for the people who've gone through it, like yourself, man, it's just working hard and consistency, which is the most simple formula. And I remember when I was younger, and I would hear that, I'd be like, okay, that's what you say on the movies, or that's just what people say to motivate you. But that's literally what it was. So y'all can't see me. I'm not on. You can't see my whole body, but I'm 5'9", a buck 80, soaking wet, right? So for me, especially coming into play like college football and into the league, I was always the underdog, always the smallest guy, never the biggest, obviously, never the strongest. So work ethic and consistency is really how I got where I got in sports, and so I feel like it's the same thing here, right? And I almost had the same mindset coming in. It's like chip on my shoulder. Sure, I'm not trying to tackle people and knock their heads off, but at the same time, I'm coming from a completely different industry. I don't know anything. It's green as grass, so it's like, yeah, I'm still an underdog. So just outworking, just other people, outworking yourself, putting in extra reps. I always say there's a level of work, I'd say, that's like required, right? And so kind of relaying that back to sports, it's like what's required? You're required to go to practice, you're required to work out, right? And you're required to play in games. But what I saw and what, some of the greatest players that I played with, what was required was just the basics, and what they did above and beyond that, that's really what took them to be great, right? Like not just waiting for practice to practice, but like after your workout, having your own workout, after practice, having your own foot drill practice, or watching film when you're just by yourself and it's 10 p.m. And so taking some of those traits into life insurance, right? Not dialing just when it's dial day, or not doing training just when we have a team call, but taking my own time early in the morning, late at night to do my own training, work on my craft. And I feel like it's the same thing here, man.
Okay, cool, man, awesome. And how can some of the people watching this now apply and listening to this? Really, how can they apply that to their game?
Yeah, I think doing just that, honestly, like whether you're on a team, hope I'm sure most people watching are on some type of team, so not just waiting for the big team calls to work on your training, right? Like, what are you doing either while you're in
Yeah.
the car or late at night, right? Putting on training, taking down notes, practicing your script, practicing your rebuttals, and same thing early in the morning. I think that's as practical as it gets, and that's super, super easily applicable.
Yeah, and like it's like, what are you doing off the field, right? It's like,
Exactly.
what are you doing? And this is so true. Like my best agents, they come in, they go through our training, they're on our calls. Like all the good agents are on the calls. If you don't show up to your team calls, then I don't know. I don't have anybody doing well that doesn't consistently show up to the team calls. For one, it's like if you don't go to practice,
Right.
but those people that are good are going above and beyond. They're always reaching out. Hey, what else can I learn? What do you recommend for me to watch? What can I do to improve my skill set? So that's huge, man. So now, do you sell final expense, mortgage protection? What type of insurance, life insurance do you like to sell?
I do both. Final expense, mortgage protection, IULs. But I'd probably say 75% final expense. So mostly.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Cool. So walk me through like the greeting of your script. What's it sound like? If you call a client and I'm like, just let's role play real quick here.
Yeah, you want to do role play? Okay. Yeah. No, let's do it. Let's do it. So ring.
Hold on, restart it. Kind of.
Is my thing going in and out? By the way.
Yeah, it just says live video will return once your internet improves, but it's all good. I can hear the audio,
Okay.
So we can go through it unless just like you move closer to the router or whatever if you can, and then as you're doing that, we'll walk through it.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the other room over there, but we'll know where if we need to start over or anything, just let me know. But we'll go with ring.
Hello.
Hey, Justin, this is Martin at the Fulton County office. How you doing?
Good, man.
Good.
Fulton County office. Am I in trouble?
Yeah, no, you're not in trouble, man. Luckily, this is the underwriting office. And so we had actually, Justin, we received a request from you. You might not even remember this because it was done a while ago. It was about a year ago. But you sent in a request looking for that life insurance information. And I'm the manager here. I just needed to verify your date of birth on here was correct. You put down February 2nd, 1962. Is that right?
Yeah, but I already took care of that.
Okay. Yep. No, that's exactly why we're calling. So there's been some updates, especially coming up to the end of the year and moving over to next year. A lot of the prices have dropped. And like I said, I'm the new manager here, so I'm just been assigned to your file to get you some of those updated prices. Now, let me just make sure we have the correct information. Your email was 123@123.com, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, we're doing everything virtually now just to make it a little bit easier, show you what you qualify for now. Justin, go ahead and grab a pen and a sheet of paper. I'm going to have you jot something down real quick, and we'll get this knocked out for you. Just let me know when you're ready.
Cool. All right, sweet. So that's your introduction. Awesome job handling that, dude. With the I already have insurance. I can tell you've done that a few times.
Yeah, you hear that almost every call.
Yeah, you know, it's so trust me, guys, if you're watching this and you're buying leads and you're calling your leads and they're telling you they already have insurance, the leads aren't bad. You just got to work on your skill set.
That's it.
You're going to run into that.
I expect that, honestly. If I'm not getting that, and I'm not getting a lot of objections, I'm like, well, this is a little weird.
Yeah. I told my agents that this morning. I'm like, yo, if someone's like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, okay, let me get your medications real quick.
Right, exactly. Like, it's different. And if you notice in my script, I think I said a year ago, and I call a lot of old leads, man. Like, I call 1, 2, 3-year-old leads all the time. And so that's how I approach it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that. We do that too. We have agents call age leads and new leads and then transfers and stuff like that. A little different setup here. We like it's a little different setup model the way that we have it. But like age leads, awesome way, guys. If you're watching this, awesome way to make a bunch of money. There are plenty of age lead vendors out there. So cool. So do you have any agents that you're working with right now?
Yeah. We have you said agents, correct?
Yeah. You have you have a team that you're growing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have about we fluctuate anywhere between 25 and 35 writers per month.
Awesome, cool. So let's just share this with the audience here. If someone's getting it, because most people aren't going to come into a system like mine, because our agency's captive, and most people are going independent route. So if someone's going to independent route, what advice would you give to someone like just starting out getting into telesales, if they want to get into telesales right off the bat?
Man, I would say whoever you're working with, communicate a lot with them. I know when it comes to telesales, a lot of different teams, they have their different kind of best practices, right? Some teams do all on Zoom. Some teams, they'll have their team call and daily check-ins. Whatever system you're plugging into, just submit to the system, because more likely than not, especially if you're joining people who have been successful, they know the path and where it takes to be successful and how to get people there. And I think that's the biggest thing. Sometimes we can come into this industry, and I've seen it all the time with, prior expectations, hey, I used to sell this, so I'm going to bring those skills over here, or I used to sell cars, and this is how we did it, so that's going to work over here. I just say, wherever you're doing, if you can just come with a clean slate, submit to whatever system that you're plugging into, and just kind of follow whatever rubric and standards that they have, man, it's really hard not to be successful if you're following everything.
Yeah, 100%. Like, just copy what someone, like, you go in, you see someone doing well, just copy what they're doing.
That's it. That's it. You don't have to.
Who are you trying to copy? Who's your mentor?
Yeah, I work with John Whitmore directly.
Awesome. John's great, dude. I love John.
Yeah, man. John's a beast. And so this telesale world has been it's been interesting too, because back when he was building, there was no telesales, but at the same time, all the principles of building, communication, sales, psychology, all that is never going to change, right? So learning from a guy like that, I mean, it's been incredible.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing I've noticed that, because I've had people face to face and now telesales, the one thing I've noticed that was a different challenge that I had to adjust to for telesales was when I would bring someone on the field, it wouldn't matter if they were in a home and I was in a home, because they could call me and I could interrupt my meeting right there and help an agent.
Right.
But and then they could tell their clients, hey, hold on a second, I'm going to reach out to someone. But I found it's a little less forgiving in the telesales world because you can't put a client on hold for 5 minutes.
That's true.
Right?
True. Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so it just goes to your point there where you want to communicate with the people that you're working with a lot, because then when you need help, they'll be likely to reach out and be able to give you that quick assistance that you may need.
Exactly. Yeah, and hopefully, you know, especially if somebody's joining an established company, team, whatever the case may be, there's multiple people. So I'm not just relying on.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, when I call Justin, he's not about to close a $10,000 premium, right? So you can reach out to him. Usually, you can catch somebody. So heck yeah, man.
For sure, man. So so what are some of your goals like coming this year, and what's your vision for yourself in this business?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think it's changed coming in, right? Coming in, I wanted to have a company agency, right, that is just helping as many people as possible get paid. I think when it comes to this industry in general, there needs to be like a different kind of light shed on it in a way. Like if you say it just out and about in the workforce or wherever, it's like, oh, life insurance sales. It's scam me. They don't make a lot of money. They don't do this, right? And there's just all these stigmas. And so I think if more people can listen to stuff like this, man, see guys like myself, see guys like yourself, like, you know what? These are regular guys making a good living, building a team, helping people, and able to build a business with that. I think just getting the word out there even more, hiring more people, training is just my goal. I mean, I definitely have, some numbers in mind and stuff like that. We didn't hit our goals for this year, but nothing's going to change going to next year, man. Same. Eye on the vision, right?
Yeah, man, for sure. And if you see me looking down, I'm actually taking notes on this.
Okay,
so,
yeah, it's all good, man.
No, I'm not looking away from you.
It's all good.
Yeah. Well, you know what I say? If I hit my goals, I don't think I set my goals high enough.
That's
and I feel that way. Like, if I hit a goal, like, okay, so like this is for you guys too. I'm telling you, keep at it. And I know Yoda here is going to hit all his goals because he's showing up every day and pushing to make it happen. I actually wrote down a goal for like 3.5 years, man, 150,000 AP a week, and we finally did 167,000 last week.
Let's
it was
go.
the first, right? So it was like, dude, it's like seeing that stuff happen. It's like, man. So guys, I'm telling you, all you got to do is keep that vision. And like a huge thing for him, what I'm seeing from you, Yoda, is like, hey, you didn't hit your goal, but what are you doing? You're not like crying in the bathroom. You're right back at it. Like, yo, 2023, let's go, right?
That's it, man. That's it. You just refocus, realign. All right, cool. Let's set it again and go after it.
What do you have to change about 2023 that you didn't do in 2022, or maybe stop doing something you did in 2022 that was a barrier, an obstruction to you hitting that goal? Like, what do you have to change about 2023 to hit your goals there?
And it's funny, too. It comes down to, honestly, what we talked about at the beginning of the call is just like that consistency factor. One thing we ran into this year, especially when we were recruiting and bringing people on, like if we look at the entire year, we brought on a ton of people, trained a lot of people. It was great, right? But I think, just every single week having a certain number that we hit. We weren't able to do that this past year, where there were some weeks where we might have brought on one, some where it was 10, right? Versus just trying to just chip at it little by little every single week without skipping one. And so that's kind of what me and the team has been focused on rolling into next year.
Bro, that's so funny that you said that, because look at my goal right here is onboard 50. I don't know if you can probably see it, it's
Yeah, I
backwards,
can
but
see that.
it's yeah, so it's onboard 15 people a week. So
Boom. That's
yeah,
it.
it's like, yep.
You do that, you can't lose, right?
No, you can't.
People get paid. You find the people you need to work with. That's it, man.
Exactly, and that's you said the right thing there. Find the people that you need to work with. So, like if for you guys watching this, I'm not about churn and burn. Like throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. I know Yoda's not that way either. I can tell he's like a genuine person who wants to help people make money. But the reality is that not everyone who gets in this business is built for it. Not everyone is gonna be successful, and not everyone has that like type of hustle or whatever for the industry. So it's like, hey, it's important to find those types of people. So what do you look for in someone?
Absolutely. Man, more recently, so that was another mistake we made. Maybe not a little bit of last year, but more so when I first started, was just bringing on every single person who wanted to come on the team, right? So right now, what we look for, man, I think it's coachability is super huge. Super huge. Like regardless of if you're coming from another company and you're the top producer or you're coming from, a different industry, like you have to kind of what I said, not necessarily always submit to the system, but you have to actually be coachable, right? Because we brought on super talented people who just didn't listen and they didn't succeed. And so I did that enough times to where I put two and two together and I'm like, it doesn't really matter how good they are. If they're not going to listen or they're not going to change certain things, they're not going to win. Right. So coachability, I think, is the biggest thing. And then just finding people who nothing crazy, nothing out the blue, nothing, extraordinary, but just people who do what they say they're going to do. Right. If we have a Zoom meeting, right, and you're supposed to be on Zoom, or it's your first dial day, and you're supposed to be dialing at 9 a.m., you're on Zoom at 9 a.m. unmuted, with your camera on. Right. Just basic, simple stuff. Hey, if you're supposed to submit this paperwork, by the end of the day today, it gets submitted, right? So nothing extraordinary, really regular stuff, but it's crazy, man. When somebody can put together that hard work piece plus that integrity piece, I guess you can call that integrity, right? Doing what you
it's integrity,
do. Yeah, that's it. And I mean, if you can have those two things, you could barely know English, and like we can work with that.
No, for real. It's true.
So
awesome, cool, man.
Thank you. That's what I would say.
So. Awesome. So what? Let's tell the audience here what your week looks like. Like, how do you schedule out your week? How do you plan out your week? How do you balance sales with recruiting? How do you do that? Can you walk me through that?
Sure. And so it's changed a little bit more recently because the last 2 months or so, I've been 100% telesales, and a lot of my other agents have also. So before it was have 2 dial days per week, have 4 or 5 run days per week, run the appointments, call, recruit in between time. Now everything runs together a little bit more. So every day is a dial day when you're on telesales. So we're usually starting up anywhere between 8 and 8:30 on Zoom. One call close. So we're not booking appointments. Typically, it's, hey, when they pick up, we're closing them, and we're doing that all the way
final
up.
Expense.
Right, exactly, final expense, and we're doing that up until about 6 o'clock every Monday through Friday. Sometimes on the weekends if you're not hitting your goals, but usually just Monday through Friday we'll get the job done. As far as recruiting and training, now that we're on Zoom all the time, it kind of flows in together, right? Now if you have, a couple top producers, a couple, mid-tier producers, we're all kind of coaching each other. So if I can't get to somebody because I'm in an appointment, well, somebody else can kind of get to them. Or in between dials, we can talk about different things. Or if I'm recruiting, I might step away to take a phone call, but then I'm like, hey, we have 10 guys on Zoom right now who are all closing business in different breakout rooms. How about you come on and listen to them so you can kind of hear what it looks like with live bullets. So now it all kind of flows together. Before it was like all compartmentalized and segmented. So I like it a little better, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool. How you have that work. I never even thought about that because like you just gave me an idea, bro. Like.
There we go.
For licensed agents, yeah, when they because a lot of licensed agents will come and they'll be like, oh, sometimes people start. And I think like honestly, it takes, if you guys are watching this and it's your first 3 to 6 months, like give yourself some time. Like I don't expect anybody to come in and crush it in like their first month or two. Like
right.
You gotta, it's a lot. You gotta learn this products. You gotta learn sales. You gotta like Sometimes the hardest thing about working from home is working from home because you
Yeah.
got all this stuff going on. So,
Sure.
but plugging in and seeing that is invaluable. Like, take advantage of that, guys. If you have people on your team that you can listen to their calls, you can hear how they sound, and then it's huge.
Yeah, that's a game changer. Yeah, complete
It
game
is.
changer.
What do you do for personal development?
The regular stuff: books, audiobooks, YouTube. I'm a big believer as well. So I'm Christian. So I'll make sure to read leadership books that are grounded in the Word. So I'm super big on that Tony Evans type stuff. A whole bunch of people, but I'm huge on still reading paper books. I know everybody's audiobooks these days. I do it sometimes, but I'm big on just paper books, reading at least 10, 15 minutes.
Tony Evans, you said?
Yeah, I listen to Tony Evans. Of course, the Bible, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
I have some audiobooks, but it's definitely different. Check this out, right? You ever hear 48 Laws of Power, the book?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
All right. So I thought I was listening to the audiobook because what I'll do, I'll test books out first, audiobook, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe I should buy this one and read it paperback. So I bought 48 Laws of Power on Amazon. They sent me the freaking synopsis.
I was about to say that's definitely not it.
I'm like, yo, what is this? And it's cool. It's like a little summary, but I'm like, nah, dude, I want like
They sent you the
whole
Spark Notes, man.
They did. Totally had no clue this is what I was getting. I was like,
That's crazy.
hey,
man.
that's probably why it was $4. Cheap man
Right,
thinks twice.
true.
Now I got to buy the other one.
True, man. That's funny.
Yeah, man. So, do you still play football? Do you ever play pickup games, or are you
I
involved in
mean-
any sports or anything like that?
I try to, right? So when I say try, like I'll go try flag football every now and again, but soon as somebody hears that like I played at college or NFL, like it's game on. They're lights out, trying to go all out, and so I try not to let people know that. But when I do, man, it's all fun. But once you start getting competitive and you trying, okay, now that gives me the green light to actually play you for real. So now it gets competitive. So I try to.
You're probably really fast.
I have to be. I had no choice, being 5'9".
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. You're 5'9", minutes NFL. Like, you got to be lightning fast.
Yeah, I was pretty fast. Yeah, I won. When I was in high school, I won, state for track and all that stuff. So speed was definitely a big part of my game. But yeah, I try to mess around. I still play basketball every now and again, still keep in shape, but nothing too competitive. Yeah, man.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that. You go play flag football, and then it's like, okay, you got, all these people who
Right.
I can see that.
Trying to relive the high school dreams, and they hear this guy went to the league. Oh, it's like, oh yeah, we gotta all team up on him. I'm like, come on, y'all. I'm just trying to get some cardio in. I mean, if you want to go there, I'll take it there. But I didn't ask for it. You did, so let's get it.
Yeah. So serious. My buddy, I went to high school with him. He played defensive end for the Steelers for a couple of years, and
That's what's up.
he's like, same thing. Back home, people are like, oh, I want to play a pickup game. He's like, dude, no, like,
Right. Right. It's crazy. I need to get on your workout plan, man. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Cool, man. So where do you live?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. We obviously we recruit nationwide, so agents in I don't know how many states now, but nationwide. But this is home base for now.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
It's been good.
So if anybody on here wants to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So Instagram probably be the best. It's just at Yoda Jenkins. So YODAJENKINS. I'm on there all the time.
It's easy. So if anybody wants to reach out to him and work with him, then that's his Instagram tag right there. But what drives you, man? Like what? And I think this is important for anybody watching this to hear. Like what gets you motivated? I mean, you can't. What's your why?
Yeah, man, that's actually it's a good question because you have to have that, right? I think it's changed. When I first got introduced to the industry, it was purely money. I saw one of my friends and how much money he made, and I was at a point in my life where I'm like, if I can make that, let's do it. So I did it, and that's where it started. But the more I got into the industry, the more I started helping people, the more I started even helping other families, right, with our products, and got the first death claim and saw how it affected them. And it really started to shift to, man, this is really impacting people in a positive way, and everybody's winning, right? The insurance companies, well, I guess you can say they're not winning all the time if they pay it out, right? But they're winning because they're getting more clients. We're winning because we're doing the same thing. The clients are winning because their families are protected. So I think now, man, it's shifted to a point where what drives me is just helping more people, right? When I see that new agent come in and they're able to change their life in a matter of a couple months, right? Like I've brought on some agents and they've been able to really scale this thing to where they can move out of their cruddy apartment or cruddy situation. Or I just had an agent be able to move across state and like chase his dreams, all because we gave him that opportunity, kind of taught him the skills of the trade. So now I think, man, it's just about helping other people, and that's really what drives me at the end of the day.
Awesome. Cool, man. Yeah. So now, obviously, you're good at sales, and I'm sure you're a good leader too because of your athletic history, and then also you have a team. What unique challenges have you found that are different when it comes to being a leader than it does when in sales? And this is for anybody watching this who wants to build an agency, because to build a large team or a large agency, you have to be a good leader. So what challenges have you faced? What's worked for you? What hasn't? What have you had to overcome? Let's talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah, sure, man. I think my biggest challenge, especially starting out, was I'm a certain way, right? I come from, like we talked about, the athletic background. So we're used to bark in your face, coaching, being straight up, like all that stuff, right? But what I had to slowly realize was everybody's different, right? Everybody who comes to this opportunity or comes work with me is not trying to be a millionaire. One person might want to make $1,500 per month and they're the happiest can be. Another person might need to get to $1 million as quick as they can in however long, right? So I think one thing that really, really helped me was knowing that, and then learning that, like asking questions, just like how we do with, John actually told me this. It's like, Justin, if I had an appointment with you and I had an appointment with a 78-year-old widow, we're not going to have the same conversation. I'm going to treat you different. I might ask different questions. My body language might even be different than it's going to be with her, right? And so I think when you can, when I understood that it's the same thing with agents, right? The way I treat one agent, the way I coach one agent, the way I maybe motivate or communicate with one is not going to be the exact same as the next one. So once I started getting down to like a personal level, getting to know them, I think that's really what kind of changed everything for me, and the light bulb went off. Hey, everybody's people, everybody's a little bit different. So that's one thing I definitely messed up, and I'm still learning, but something that I'm glad I did learn eventually.
Yeah, what do you feel like is something that that you've been good at from a leadership perspective? So that's a challenge you overcome. What's something that you feel like you did naturally, that came naturally well, that's helped you?
Yeah, I think the work ethic piece, just coming from, like I said, coming from sports and just other things that I've done. Just being able to just outwork people. That came a little bit more natural, and the more people see that, honestly, the more they want to do it themselves. I noticed that it's funny. I know before the call we were talking about my biggest months and team's biggest months. Well, it's funny. My biggest months have been my team's biggest months. My smallest months have been my team's smallest months. So once I started to see that correlation, I'm like, man, it really does rise and fall on the leader, man.
No, it does. It's huge. And that's where, like, I made that transition to being like, okay, I'm full in to my people. I don't sell independently anymore. Anytime I make a sale, like when I told you I was closing a sale earlier, that's what I do all day. Me and the other leaders I have on my team, we're on there hopping on people's calls, helping them close their sales throughout the day. And even though my personal is zero, right? And if I get a sale, I give it to an agent. So even though my personal is zero, my team's has elevated. So, and a big thing here, guys, that he touched on is on how everyone is different. And this is huge, because if you are, everybody says they want to build a team, but if you're actually the person who's going to go do it, then you're a really motivated person. And I know you're super ambitious. And let me see, my light gets better here. And you're really ambitious. So what may kind of irk you, and it's tough for me sometimes to deal with this stuff, is when I have an agent come in and they don't want to make $1 million a year. and like they're like, I'm cool if I make $2,000 a month. And I'm like, God, like for me, sometimes I'm like, I had to adjust to that, because at first they thought they were lazy. They think I'm crazy, but
Right.
neither of us. You're right. Neither of us is right. It's like we're our own people.
That's so true, man. Trust me, I had that same adjustment to make. For sure. That's funny.
So do you what states do you prefer to call in?
I live in Georgia, so for sure Georgia. Anywhere in the southeast, really, I'm calling. I do some up north, like I'll do Ohio, Delaware, Texas for sure. I'm kind of scattered all over, but since I live in Georgia, it ends up being a lot of Georgia. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now we're going to get into some sales stuff here. So if you get on a call and what's like something right away that someone is any buying signals that you hear right in the beginning of a conversation where you're like, okay, this person's going to buy. I got a good feeling about this.
There definitely is. I'm trying to like pinpoint one. Well, you know, when you're in a sale, whether you're in a home or on the phone, right, you're leading the conversation, right? So one buying signal that I can think of off the top is just where I'm leading the conversation. When I'm asking questions, they're answering, or if I want to take the conversation, like if they say, "Oh, I want to get this because, you know, I don't want my daughter to have to pay for my funeral," right? Well, I can say, "Okay, well, where does your daughter live?" You know, I can keep going down there. Where does she live? Does she work? God forbid you didn't have this. Would she be able to pay for this? How hard would that be? You know, your retirement, what does that look like? Do you have anything else to supplement it? So usually when I'm going down that path and they're not really giving me resistance and they're being open and kind of vulnerable in a way with me, that's a big buying sign to me. That means, okay, you're serious about getting this taken care of. So I look for that for sure. And I had that conversation pretty early on.
Yeah, for sure. And I found too, if you guys ask someone the name of their beneficiary and they give you the first and last name and then they spell the last name out, that's like, boom, this person like, they're like, I found for me that they're like already sold.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't
as
know
long as they can afford it and get the bank account.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. If you see that next time, if someone's like, yeah, it would be like, you know, John Smith, but it's Smith Smyth. You got that? And if they like want to make sure that you write it down right, then it's like, okay, boom, this person, they're already seeing that name on the policy. So I feel
right.
Like
Exactly. It's a done deal.
Yeah. For sure. Now, what are some questions that you like to ask in your fact finding to help build? You touched on a few of them, but are there any questions that you like to ask to build the urgency and qualify the client? Like, what are some of those questions that you like to ask people in your script?
Yeah, there's a couple. Some of the ones I went over, which are just everyday ones, right? What motivated you to fill out the form? What's your biggest concern when it comes to having life insurance or not having life insurance, however you want to word it? Or if they only have 10,000 and they want to add more, what's your biggest concern with only having 10,000 in place?
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I like that one. You know, of course, the basics, right? Do you make your own financial decisions or does somebody else help you out with that? I can actually.
Yep.
There's so many. Another one too, and regardless of the age, I honestly like to ask, hey Justin, I hope you don't mind me asking this, man, but what made you wait so long to get something like this in place? Did you have some health concerns, or were you just kind of putting it off and procrastinating a little bit? They could be 31 or they could be 81, and I'm going to ask that question. And I want them to get to admit that they're procrastinating, right? Like, oh, I don't know, I'm just kind of putting it off or doing this, or I've waited and da-da-da-da. Okay, so you were kind of procrastinating at the end of the day, if we're being honest. Yeah, I guess I was, right? Well, as you know,
now, what if someone gets kind of upset? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You were saying if they get upset if I ask that?
Because I don't. I asked this because I know someone watching this is gonna be like, oh, those are personal questions. What if someone gets upset if you ask them? And I've had people kind of get upset. I handle it a certain way. So how do you handle that if someone's kind of like gets all weird about you asking like questions like about that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's funny, man. I've never had that. I've never had that happen before.
Okay, cool.
So I would probably just say I don't even know how I would handle that. I'd say, let's say I'm asking you, hey, what made you wait this long? And you're, hey, well, what would they say that would mean they're upset? Do you have like,
well, like what does this have to do with? I've never got it when I'm on my own presentation, but I've got it when I've helped a new agent with a sale. So like when I've jumped in after they pre-qualified the client because that's and they need help. So I feel like by that point that client may be frustrated, but you also sold face to face and then went to telesales, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So you got the flow, you got like the swag on the phone. So if someone's coming in and they're all awkward, like, and why have you waited so long to get this in place? You know, like. Someone be like, "What does this have to do with insurance?"
That's true. That's true. What does that have to do with insurance? I'd probably that's funny. Now that you say it, I'd probably just say, "Hey, Justin, I just like to have the most complete picture." Right? There's over 150 products to choose from. Obviously, I'm not going to show you all of them, but I think your reasons why you want coverage and why you haven't gotten in the past can kind of help me diagnose which product is going to be best for you. So. That might not be exactly how I worded it, but it will probably come off something like that if I got it.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Now,
I like
off
that.
the top, I don't even know what I just said.
Yeah. You're gonna have to play that back, put it as like an Instagram reel or something.
I know, right? But yeah, those are some. Cool. A bunch of go-to questions, but I'd probably say those are some of the bigger ones. Like.
All right, sweet. Love that. I'm gonna teach some of those on my Saturday training.
That's cool. I love it.
So now, when you go for the close, is there anything you can think of that would come to mind that the client may hint at or say that when you hear that stuff, you're like, oh, this may be a little bit more challenging than I thought, or like they may not. Like how do you know when you're going for the close that you're confident that they're gonna buy, as opposed to you're like, nah, I'm not sure if this person's really gonna buy. Is there anything where you can distinguish that?
Yeah. There is. Well, for one, I'm soft closing the entire time. So for soft closing, for me, what that looks like is there's two main words that I want to say almost as often as possible. One of those words is application, and another of those words is today. So whatever excuse I can use to say those words just throughout the conversation, I'm going to say it. So it could be something as simple as, telling them, at the beginning what the call is going to look like, and I'll help you submit coverage, ask some questions, submit coverage, XYZ, we'll get you covered today, right? That could be one. Another could be, I'm asking your beneficiary's name, and, hey, yeah, what'd you say your son's name was? Oh, his name is Justin. Okay. And how do you spell Justin? I just want to make sure I spell it right on the application that we do. Oh, Jay, oh, you're on Metformin? Okay, how do you spell Metformin? I want to make sure that one's spelled right on the application too, right? So just any excuse to say application, I say it. And then also today. So when we're talking about any question that I'm asking, like, hey, it looks like, you might be when I'm getting towards the end before I pitch the numbers, hey, it looks like you might be qualified for a whole life plan. The good thing about that is once I get you qualified for that today, you're never going to have to worry about it again, because from here on out, the prices, once you get approved, the prices will never increase. And so, just saying those two words just as often as I can usually helps to eliminate all the resistance right at the end. And I'm trying to think of like some specific resistance questions. Obviously, you get like to think about it and stuff like that, but if that comes, if any objection comes in like the first 2, 3, 5 minutes, I really just ignore it and keep it going. But if it keeps coming up, like they say, I don't want to get anything today, and I ignore it, then they say it again, then again and again, and I'm like halfway through the presentation and they're still saying it, then I'll probably pause.
Okay.
All right, this might be a real objection. Let me actually handle it. So, but saying those, approaching it like that, it can eliminate 50% of the fluff, if not more.
No. Yeah, I love that. And guys, so when you get those objections in the beginning, and I have to train on this literally every single week, if not every day, with some agents, where and this is a really tough thing for new agents to get down until you see that it works. And like, you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like know why it works. You just got to know, that works. Like if someone gives you an objection right off the bat, you can't treat it as real. It's like I tell my agents, if someone tells you they have insurance, I say, no worries, most people do, but when I'm not asking you to make any changes, and then you just keep going, or like whatever you want to say. Like it's just, hey, no worries, most people I speak with have it, they find this information really valuable, and then we just keep going on. Now, if they're like 3 or 4 times telling you they have insurance, then You can ask them what they have, or if someone's like, I can't afford it, I don't have any money, and they say it right from the beginning, then I'll like kind of test it a little bit, like a few minutes in, and be like, now most clients spending anywhere from $50 to $250 a month on a program like this to make sure that things are covered, and then I just kind of go smooth. And if they're like, whoa, even the 50 is too much, then it kind of test the water with that. But
I like that.
That's huge. If you thanks, yeah. If you get those objections in the beginning, then just keep going.
Keep rolling.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, and for you guys too, what huge advice there, huge information, man. Thank you. One thing I like to do too before I go for the close, I like to do all that stuff that you talked about, and I'm going to teach that too, to have people say application a lot. I found that getting the client to convince me why they want coverage before I quote helps a lot sometimes.
Oh yeah. Like when you're going through the whys and getting their reasoning out.
Yeah. Oh, like, hey, what would you do with this? Explain to me exactly what your wife would do if she got this money. So if something happened to you tomorrow and she got this check coming in 3 days, exactly what would she do with the money?
I like that.
And, would she spend this much on this? This would go to this, and she had $20,000, it would go to this. Be like, oh well, if you left her $40,000, what would she do with the extra 20? Like, oh well, she'd put it towards bills, and like, oh, that would go a long way then. Like, oh yeah, it would. It's like, okay, so I want to get them to convince me like why they I guess.
I like that. I don't think I've ever tried that before. I'm gonna start doing that too. Yeah.
Try it. Yeah, I like it. It helps. Cool. So now you're on the close and you're going for it. So when you quote and close, and I know you assume the sale, I can tell because you assume it the whole time. You're soft closing the whole time. So when you quote and just assume the close, how's that sound?
Yeah, like after I told them the numbers, or
yeah. So tell me the numbers, and then just go for a close.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so I'll say, I have like a pre-pitch kind of a pre-close type of I don't know. It's kind of like an overall thing that I just insert right at the end. And so it's kind of like when I'm doing my underwriting and stuff, I'll say, hey, perfect. I'll put your information into the system. I do kind of what you do, and I go back to the why, right? So sometimes I'll even say, hey, being super transparent with you, Justin, before we get into these numbers, at this point, I know you said you don't have anything to leave behind for X, Y, and Z. When you pass away, have you ever thought about how much you wanted to leave behind? So that way I can kind of get a gauge as to where they want to land. And I'll just tell them, yeah, just keep those numbers in mind while we're looking. Obviously it's based on your health. And I'll reiterate again. I'll say it looks like you can be approved with one of the top companies. But again, there's no guarantee that you can be approved. We'll know here in a second, but I'll do my best to get you approved. And then, I'll just kind of just reiterate to them that, hey, we're going to be putting in an application. So going into my numbers, they'll usually have a pen and sheet of paper that I made them get down. I'll say, hey, go grab that again. Write down these 3 options. I'll do top down. So I'll usually do 3 options, the highest, the middle, the low. I'll explain each one. Hey, option number 1, that's our gold program, Justin. So next to gold, I want you to write down 40,000, right? This is the most coverage that you can get. These are usually for people who are smart with their money. They really understand the importance of insurance.
I like that gold.
Boom, gold, silver, starter, right? And so, I'll just explain it. They want to, like you said, they want to leave a little bit of extra money behind on top of taking care of the burial. Justin, it's hard to go from 2 incomes to 1, let alone going from 1 to none, right? So this type of option is really for someone who wants to max it out and leave the biggest legacy that they possibly can. That $40,000 is going to be $211 per month. Under gold, I want you to write down silver. This is usually the most popular option. Justin, this is usually for people who are kind of in your situation. And I'll literally just explain whatever their situation is. I'll just explain it to whichever one I want. So in this case, I'll explain your situation in gold. You're X, Y, and Z. Usually people who are making between X, Y, and Z, whatever you told me. And I'll literally just insert their situation there. It's the most popular one. Somebody who doesn't want to absolutely max out the coverage, but they want to take care of X, Y, and Z, whatever their goal was. And that's going to be, $30,000 for $159 per month. And then I'll do the same thing with the lower one. Hey, Justin, this last one, this is our starter program. I'll always say this regardless of the amount. Say this is our starter program. So this is 15,000. Justin, this is really for people who are unemployed or who have no income whatsoever. They know the importance of insurance and they want to get something in place just to get started, and they know in the future they can raise it. But at the end of the day, these people typically have no income, no social security, no nothing. They just need to get something started, and that's that 15,000 is going to be whatever it is, right? $98 per month. Now, again, there's no guarantees I can get you approved, but I'll give you my word to do the best that I can. Out of these three options, which one makes the most sense for you? Or out of these three options, so sometimes I'll just say, hey, does the gold or silver, which one works better for you? And we'll see if you can get approved. So that's kind of like my close area, and that's what I do.
That's awesome, man. Cool. Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna have some people apply that. The goal. What's up?
I was saying, yeah, have them try it for sure. It's been working for us.
Yeah, because I just thought, they do that with health insurance, right? Open enrollment when you go get your I just got mine the other day.
I know everybody's phone has been blowing up for the last month and a half.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, they got gold, silver, platinum, bronze, whatever. So that's cool.
Same thing, man.
Sweet. So now, how do you handle? Let's go over some objections. So if someone tells you they got to think about it, what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I want to say it kind of depends on how they responded to some of my other ones. Usually I can hear it coming, because if they're not answering my questions, or they're not doing, they're not giving me a good why, they're giving me some resistance, I know that's coming. But it really does depend. You can say, think about it. Yeah, no, actually, Justin, I was actually going to say that too. I want you to think about it, because you're probably going to need, Justin, I don't know, you'll probably need at least a week or two to think about it minimum, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, yeah, exactly. And so, the insurance carriers, they're really going to be the ones to think about it. I know you're pretty healthy for your age, which is phenomenal. But when you told me about that high blood pressure medication and that losartan, sometimes they don't like that. So what we'll do for today, we'll put in the application, make sure you can at least get approved. And then, like I said, I know you want a week or two to think about it. We can always X, Y, and Z, and then I can talk about a post date or something. But I really want to hit on the application and making sure it's a viable option.
I like that. Call it the medication. Like, yeah,
now, I'll nitpick anything. Like, it could be the Advil. I don't know that, I'll blame it. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Those vitamins.
Those vitamins, man. They don't vitamins, so let's make sure you can get approved first, and then you can think about it.
They don't want you too healthy now,
So, yeah.
Cool, I like that.
I'll probably say 80% of the time that's how I'm handling it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then what if someone says they have to talk to their wife or their kids or something like that?
Well, if I ask the question properly in the beginning, hopefully that comes out then. But even if it doesn't,
I know you can ask in the beginning, but still some people pull that crap.
Sometimes it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's no problem. I'll probably do the same thing. Like, you probably need at least a week or two to talk to your wife, right? Yeah, at least. Okay, perfect. Well, let's make sure before we talk to her and we, waste too much time trying to go back and forth, we can at least get you approved. I'll go that route, which I don't always love because, you can put yourself in a chargeback situation, so it's not always the best. Or just asking, hey, I know this is for her. Which option do you think would be the best? If she was here, which one do you think that she would pick? Right. And a lot of the one-leggers, I know when you're doing one-call close, it's hard to stay away from them, but I try sometimes to stay away from, like, husband and wife one-leggers. Yeah, I try to stay away from it. That situation doesn't happen to really almost never, but it definitely could. Yeah.
Well, when I started, I was like, I don't care if I get a chargeback. I need this advance. I didn't have any money, so I was like, whatever, I'll figure that out later. My rent's due today, not in 6 months. I'll figure it out then. So,
right.
I was pushing everybody. Like, I didn't care what they told me. I was like always pushing to get the sale. And when I was face to face, though, I if it was a husband and the wife wasn't home, I'd be like, when's she gonna be home? I'll come back. Right. So I started applying that to telesales now, and it's like I have my agents do that. It's like husband and wife. Okay, is your wife? Can you make these decisions yourself? Yeah. Okay. 100% you can do it. Your wife won't be mad. no. Sometimes they'll have them do it, but other times they'll be like, okay, when she get home, and then we'll kind of talk. Because the thing is too, so crazy. I had a guy, Tim Wright, on here. Tim, if you're watching this, I didn't post your video, bro, because it didn't. The format, the audio was crazy. It sounded so loud, but. So he sells face to face. He runs like a life insurance academy thing with someone else, or he'd like on it or something. Nice. And he was saying that he buys like 20 direct mail leads a week, I think, but he gets like 10 or 15 sales a week because he'll sit like 2/3 of the leads, but he'll get a lot of husband and wife sales. So he said every week he gets like 2 or 3 husband and wife double sales.
Nice.
Yeah, so guys, if you get a husband and wife on the phone, that's a huge thing, is to have them both involved in the conversation.
Well, yeah, it can be over with. It can be over with. And honestly, if they're like if they do have a spouse or something like that, and I ask them that question, right, do you make your own decisions? And they say yes, but they told me they're married or whatever the case it could be, right? I personally want to corner them. I want to get them to say that they don't make their own decisions. So I'll be like, perfect. You know, you make your own decisions. Yeah, I do. Okay, perfect. Well, I know once we go through all the eligibility, you pick the price and then, you pick the plan and we put the application in. You're going to at least want to consult with your spouse, Joe, before any final decisions are made, right? Yeah, I'd want to at least. And okay, I got them to admit it. But sometimes I'll get people to say, no, we don't talk about anything. We keep our stuff separate. Like I'm doing this all on my own. So if they give me that answer, then I'll keep going. So that's kind of my way of differentiating the two.
I like that. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So try to get them
to like admit it. Almost.
Yeah, sometimes the guys will be like, "No, I make the decisions."
Right.
And it's like, okay.
We get it, bro.
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Hey, well, we're coming up on the end here. I appreciate you being on here, dude. It means a lot. Anything else you want to say here, and give your contact information one more time, and then share anything you want before we
again, Instagram at Yoda Jenkins, YODAJENKINS. Man, I just want to say I appreciate you getting on here, man. There is
cool.
Like I said, man, there's so much opportunity in this industry, whether it's building, whether it's selling, man, and I just think more people need to know about it. So I can probably speak for everybody when we say we appreciate what you do, man. Keep these coming. Oh, and I think my internet. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you back. You came back.
Okay, cool. Was that the first time that this happened the whole time?
That was the first time that ever dropped out like that. Thank God.
Cool. I know, right? God's looking out. Cool. But yeah, man, I was just saying we appreciate you, man. That's all.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. It's huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Well, bro, appreciate it. You guys know how to reach him, and that's all. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. You're going to want to watch this next one coming up. We've got a monster producer sharing their secrets, just like Yoda did here. Thanks.